Greetings, everyone. I'd like to introduce you to my childhood friend, Hilary Rivera. Hilary grew up in the southeastern corner of New Brunswick in a little village called Port Elgin. Finished school, went on, navigated through a couple different jobs, is a military veteran from the Canadian Forces with 2 trips to Afghanistan underneath her belt. Hilary has an incredible story, is a published author of a very important book on a very important topic. So Hilary, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything I missed from that introduction? Is there anything you'd like to add?
No, you've got it all, Darren. Thank you for having me here.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to share your story. And maybe that's what we'll do is maybe, Hilary, if you'd like to touch on a little bit about your story.
My story.
Yeah.
So my story about life, my story about how I got the book completed. Where would you like to go with that?
Well, where would you like to go with that, Hilary?
Well, I'll start with the story of the book. All right. So I had no intentions of ever writing a book. I always thought, I'd love to learn guitar. I'd love to do this. Writing a book would be out of the realm of possibilities. But it's not actually. And I found out that it wasn't. I was asked to write the book at the behest of a gentleman named Scott Weiss, who is he's a published author as well. He lives in the States, and he discovered Mercedes' story, my daughter Mercedes' story, and was enthralled by it. He wanted to know more. But my family, who had insulated me from what had occurred with my daughter, didn't allow me, not didn't allow, but insulated me from paparazzi, from interviews, from all of that, until about 2 years ago, when Scott Weiss got in touch with me saying, I'd really love to hear Mercedes' story from her mother's point of view. And so he put me to the task of writing a book. And that's what I did.
A little bit about the book that Hilary's referring to is Porn Star Mom, My Life with August Ames. Did I pronounce that correctly, Hilary?
Yes, you did, August Ames.
And the author, of course, is Hilary.
Yes.
And her daughter's name is also Mercedes. The story about your daughter, Hilary. Can you share about the story of your daughter?
Well, I mean, she was a sweet little girl who suffered from mental illness, which I didn't know. I didn't have a label for it back then. I just knew there was something wrong, something off with her as a child. And then it seemed like she grew out of it and she became this bubbly, happy teenager, regular teenager, beautiful girl inside and out. And then went off to California at the age of 18 to become a porn star. And in the end became famous as a porn star.
One of the questions that I'd like you to maybe share a little bit more around Hilary is what was it like to see Mercedes grow up?
She was the light of my life, Darren. I never expected to have a daughter. So I just loved her to death from the moment she was born. Just having a little girl in my life made me complete.
So Hillary went off, as you said, and she ended up going into become a porn star and in the field of pornography. And what were some of the signs, Hillary, that you noticed that there was something that was happening and may have raised some concerns for yourself? Can you touch on that, Hillary, please?
Yeah, from when she was a little girl or when she was heading out to go do her thing?
What were some of the early signs, let's say in childhood, as she was growing up and navigating through life as a teenager, as a kid, and maybe you
Right.
could touch on when she went out into life and
Okay.
into the pornography field. What were some of those signs that you had noticed as a parent, as a mom, and went, something's a little off here, or maybe not? Can you touch on
Right.
that, please?
Absolutely. I noticed at a young age, when Mercedes was just a little girl, that she suffered from, it seemed like a depression. It seemed like a general forlorn feeling. She was also, she demonstrated signs of obsessive compulsive disorder, I noticed, which she, I think, later grew out of, but I'm not entirely certain of that. And as she was growing, uh, those signs of depression seemed to wane, and she came into her own. Then later on in her late teens, she wasn't rebellious, but she did the normal teenage kid things like smoking weed and with her friends and but nothing that would throw up big alarms for me. Then she got a job right out of high school working at a local Subway and realized this just wasn't for her. And that's when she decided to make that step and find an agent and go to California.
So I guess if we were to do a little bit of a sidebar with this component, Hillary, about being a parent as a mom, observing certain things with Mercedes when she was young. I heard about depression. If you were to offer something today to the audience who might be in a relatable situation with their own children being young, what would you offer?
I'd tell them, talk to your children. Don't let them off with just a, yeah, my day was good, or really get to know your children, spend time with your children, connect with your children, be there for your children, know that your children can come to you with anything. It's so important. It's so important for us to really get behind our kids and be there, be in their corner, be their saviors. Because I mean, they didn't ask to be here. So the onus is on me as a parent to do everything I can to ensure that my children are happy and healthy.
And Hillary, I'm hearing that there was a particular part in your journey as a parent and as a mom and your relationship with Mercedes where you were experiencing, did I hear correctly, installation from other family members, or there was some sort of dynamic going on between other members of your family and your relationship with Mercedes? What was the word that you used? Was being insulated from?
Gee, Darren, I honestly don't remember that
Okay.
question. Yeah, sorry about that. Um, I guess I treated Mercedes differently than I treated her brothers.
Okay.
I I didn't give her as many chores to do, for instance, because I knew what it would be like. Speaking from my own personal experience as a wife and a mother, and a female in general, how much work we have to do to keep the family running. And so I she was my little princess, I guess.
Hmm.
And I she was the light of my life. So yeah, I did treat her differently than I treated her brothers.
Okay. And in the book, which is again a book of it, will leave the details at the end of how you're able to reach out to Hillary and the resources available to those parents, family members, and people who are concerned with this particular topic. So Mercedes went on to the field of pornography, became a porn star. And Hillary, can you touch on a little bit about what some of the signs were as a parent and as a mom when Mercedes went out to the world and went into this particular line of work? What were some of the signs that you observed that maybe created some concern?
Unfortunately, I didn't see the signs, Darren, because I was in my own depression and my own battle with mental illness, a battle that hadn't been diagnosed uh, my whole life. And so I blame myself for not seeing the signs. And if I'd been in a better place myself mentally, I would have seen those signs and I would have been able to perhaps steer her in a different direction.
Mm. And I know in this particular recording, we really didn't touch too much on what really happened to Mercedes eventually. So can you touch on that,
Right.
Hillary?
Yes, yes. So the story is a tragic one with a terrible ending. That's, I mean, how else can I explain her 23 years on this planet? Uh, she suffered greatly from depression, from bipolar, and was cyberbullied, and ultimately took her life by hanging herself from a tree in a park in Camarillo, California.
Hmm. And what was that experience like, Hillary, as a mom and as a parent, where you find out that your child has passed by suicide, what that was like, and how were you able to manage that situation when you found out?
I wasn't able to manage it. I was completely broken. I went into a deep depression, deep denial, a denial so deep that everyone had to treat me with kid gloves, and they didn't know how to, no one in my family, in my inner circle, knew how to comfort me and how to make this better. I mean, there's no making sense of it. There's no making it better. And the day that I was told about her passing was the day that my life as I knew it ended. And I checked out. I literally checked out because still I was undiagnosed as being bipolar myself. Prior to that, though, I'd been diagnosed with major depression from my tours in my first tour in Afghanistan. But yeah, I didn't have the coping skills to handle the news that I'd been given. And one of the things that I have said to myself over and over again in my life is that God wouldn't give me more than I can handle. And losing a child was, and still is, I believe, the worst thing that can happen to a parent. So that's how I dealt. I didn't deal until I finally checked myself into the hospital to get help.
And Hillary, if we were to touch on trying to cope the best you can, what do you feel would have been helpful for you to be able to manage and cope with the news and experience of losing a child to suicide? What do you feel would have been most helpful?
If I'd been more willing to be open and be able to hear the message that my family had to tell me, and to have gotten help sooner, I think that would have been, professional help. I needed professional help. My husband is a man of few words, so he didn't know. I mean, it was tragic for him as well, even though she wasn't his biological daughter. But he didn't have the coping skills or the communication skills, shall I say, to help me navigate what I was going through. And my youngest daughter, of course, was too young to be able to help in any way. She needed to be insulated from this as well, I believe.
And so Mercedes passed around what year, Hillary?
2017, December 5th, 2017.
So December 5th, 2017. So we're looking at approximately 4 years after this incident happened. So my next question is, how do you manage or cope today?
Well, that's a good question. I cope from day to day. Sometimes my days are difficult and I have to dig deep and search my soul for a reason to keep going, because I suffer from suicidal tendencies myself. And other days, the sun is shining, I wake up and things are okay as they can be. I have a lot of support from my the team at St. Martha's Hospital. I have a lot of support from my dear friends. But some days it's a struggle to get out of bed, and because I see her picture as soon as I open my eyes in the morning. I think about her. I talk about her. That's how I deal. I talk about her. I don't want to ever, I will never forget her, but I don't want others to forget her either. She was such she was only on the planet for 23 years, but she made such an impact on my life and the lives of everyone she touched.
And Hillary, how does a listener today or a viewer today reach out to you if they want to carry on this conversation and connect with you around this particular topic? And how are they able to maybe get access to this book that you have published? So maybe you can touch on your contact information, please.
So it's really easy to get in touch with me. I love to receive phone calls. I'm old school, but a text is fine, or an email is fine as well. Did you want me to give my number out now, or do you want to give that out at the end, Darren?
We can give that out to the end, and then they can pause and they can write it down and contact you if that's okay. Or we can give it out at this present moment, whatever you feel right for you.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, my number is 902, that's Nova Scotia, 870-9888. So, and I'm more than willing to help in any way that I can facilitate other people's grief and loss and sorrow, because I've been there and I'm still in it. I'm still in it. So, but I'm 4 years into it. Time's a great healer. I've said that many times. Yeah.
Well, Hillary, I'd like to thank you for sharing yourself, your journey, your experience of losing your daughter Mercedes to suicide, and the resource and book that you have published and are open for phone call, text, connection, and we'll leave your contact information at the end of this recording so people are able to reach out. And I just would like to thank you for sharing your experience. Any closing comments, Hillary?
It was my pleasure to share with you and with whoever is watching, will be watching this at a later date. And just thank the Lord that I woke up today and was able to connect with you and with others. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Hillary, and thank you so much, everyone, for connecting with us today. And I invite you to reach out to Hillary so we're able to get through relatable experiences together.